How's it going, everyone? Yosef back here with another video, and I hope you're having an amazing week so far. Today I've got something really special for you. Behind me you'll see there's a Tesla Model X. Now it's a really cool car. You've got the Falcon Wing doors back there, but there's another vehicle that I really wanted to share with you today, and we're going to take a look at that in a moment. But before I get there, this video is really to help share with you a success story, not just of Tesla, but also the success story of a new kid on the block, and that's Rivian. I know a lot of you probably haven't heard about Rivian yet. It's not a super popular car company yet, but it's an amazing one, and there's a great story behind it. And I wanted to show you the differences between the Model X and the Rivian R1S, which is its direct competitor. So strap yourself in and get ready for the ride. Now, there are so many electric cars out there nowadays, but when people ask me which one I would choose, there really has only been one brand that I could truly recommend, which is Tesla. And the reason why I loved recommending Tesla so much is not because I think they're the best cars to drive, to look at, or interact with, but rather because they have the best ecosystem. And when you buy an electric car, you have to think about all the infrastructure, the technology, the servicing, the innovations that come along with it. And most manufacturers, they rely on the public charging stations and only have a few years of research and development for their vehicles. They simply don't have the capability of completely producing a brand new line of electric vehicles from the ground up, which means they have to borrow parts from their internal combustion engine cars and partner with other tech companies in the automotive supply chain world for technology. But Tesla has had its own robust charging network and almost 2 decades of electric car building experience and data. And because they do all their designs in-house, they control the vehicle production and technology and integration to be more cohesive. This is the same reason why people love Apple products so much. Everything integrates seamlessly with their ecosystem, and everything is developed to work at a maximum effectiveness across the hardware and the software. And Teslas do the same thing. They are amazing at integrating the navigation system with the charging network to give you real-time options for how to manage your trip length and battery capacity. And you can use the infotainment system and pedals and steering wheels to play games or to do other really cool stuff. So I know you're probably thinking, wait, I thought this video was supposed to be about Rivian. And you're right, it is. Let me explain. Rivian and Tesla are very similar, but very different at the same time. Rivian uses a similar philosophy as Tesla to build the best ground-up electric cars for the masses. The biggest difference, however, is that Rivian is not just going for a minimalist experience. They truly care about the user experience and think about every lifestyle detail that would add value for the buyer. And on top of having an amazing and familiar looking, feeling, and driving trucks, they also have a partnership with the Tesla charging network. So now they have access to the best charging network in the world. And the lack of a robust charging infrastructure has been, in my opinion, the biggest downside of every other electric vehicle option. But that's not going to be an issue for Rivian because of their partnership with the Tesla charging network. All right, now that we got that part out of the way, let's go take a look at the Tesla Model X, and then we'll look at the Rivian R1S in a little bit more detail. Now, to kick things off, I really do think that the Tesla Model X is a decent looking car. It's not a really beautiful looking car, but it's something that I think looks very futuristic and very modern and kind of interesting. I really do love those falcon wing doors, and I know I'm a bit of a child, so that's why it appeals really well to me, but I think they're really cool and they've got a really nice showing off factor. And if you're paying around $100,000 for a car, it's kind of nice to have something that's unique and that really stands out. Now, the lights also on the Model X I think really look great, and there isn't much of a grille because of course it's an electric car, but I think they've done something really tasteful with the way that it looks. Now, it's nothing that's going to really shout, "Look at me, this is a really interesting and fun car," but I think it really does look cool and interesting and exciting in the way that you want it to. Now, as we go around to sort of the doors of the cars, I think it's really interesting to take a look at just the door handles, because every car company now has some new, cool, funky way of opening doors, and the Tesla Model X has this really nice popper. Instead of having something sort of protrude from the door and come out, all you have to do is press that and tap on it, and it opens up the door electronically. And the benefit of that is it also gives you the option when you want to close the door to step on the brake pedal and it electronically closes the door for you. So you don't even have to reach over to grab the door and close it. It gives you that sort of Rolls-Royce feeling that will let you just close the door electronically. As we move inside the Model X, you'll notice you've got this beautiful white leatherette. You've got some really nice use of materials on the door cards as well, some nice stitching. And moving into it, you've got the wood inlay just on the dashboard, a really nice, bright, and awesome screen that's high resolution behind the controversial steering wheel. And the reason for that controversy is just the fact that there are no stalks coming off the steering wheel, so even the turn signals are stuck on there. One thing I've got to give a lot of credit to Tesla for is the seats. Not only do they look really nice and beautiful, especially in this white trim, but they're super comfortable. They're really, really nice to sit on. There's also a lot of storage in the Tesla Model X on the inside of the car. You saw those door bins, they're really deep and big. And even though you've got such a minimalist design on the interior of the car, there's some clever little storage pockets here. And I love in the center console, you've got this hidden section that allows you to kind of stow away that little storage pocket. And you open that little section up and you've got a really deep area to store stuff. And you can also close that up and take away those cup holders if you don't want them to be there, and you get even more storage in there. Or you can put everything back and just close that lid and have everything sort of disappear, which I think is really clever and neat. And if you take a closer look at the steering wheel, you'll see you've got the turn signals right there on the left-hand side, and you've got these little scroll wheels that allow you to adjust different settings as you're kind of going through the menus in the car. And when you go into the infotainment system, you've got basically everything that you need in there. And I mentioned before that you've got the electric closing doors. You can see the Falcon Wing doors are closing now as I'm holding down those buttons. And it's a really cool party trick. You don't have to go out and physically close doors. You've got these electronic motors that help you open and close the doors from the inside and outside of the car. And as you go into the menu, you'll see there's a lot of really cool things. You've got an entertainment section in there, which allows you to kind of watch videos and stream things. You can play games, and they've got these cool little party tricks in there that allow you to do a little show-off mode with the car, and it dances with all the lights and sounds. And you can play video games in there that I've mentioned before. So a lot of really cool sort of hidden features that are part of the infotainment system. And even putting the car in reverse or drive is controlled from that slider over there on the left-hand side of the screen. So for better or worse, everything is controlled from that screen. And that's one of the big controversies over the Teslas. And one last thing about the doors, just because they're really cool, they have soft closing, which I think is just really awesome. Now, if we bring ourselves to the back of the Model X, you can see there's a lot of storage space even behind the third row of seats. And it looks really cool in this 6-seater configuration. And there's a really great screen in the middle row that allows backseat passengers to control their own climate control system. And it's a really nice screen so they don't have to feel left out from the front. And there is a giant glass roof, which makes the car just feel so airy and really nice and spacious. I think there's so much that we can talk about with the Model X, and because this isn't a full in-depth review, I'm going to leave some of that for another time. But I did want to say before we jump into the Rivian that overall, the Tesla Model X is a really nice place to be. It's not a bad looking car on the outside, it's not great looking or beautiful in my opinion, but it's a nice looking thing, and on the inside you do feel really special. There's a lot of nice good use of materials, from the leather seats to the Alcantara headliner, and the minimalism I think is something that you're going to have to get used to. It's very simple in design and it is very relaxing to look at, but because there's no buttons or anything else, everything is controlled through that internal screen, and I think that's something that people have to get used to when you're driving a Tesla. And I will say overall, the driving of the Tesla experience is really nice. Once you get over the slider to go put yourself in park and reverse and drive, it's overall a very quiet drive. It feels very premium when you're going around, and the suspension is really nice, and it just feels like a good place to be, and it does have the sporting credentials. You do feel that it's a lot more sporty than perhaps what you would expect for such a big and heavy car. And so overall, it is a nice vehicle to drive. All right, now let's jump back to the Rivian. And Rivian has 2 electric vehicles that you can buy at the moment. The R1T, which is the pickup truck, and the R1S, which is what we're looking at today, the SUV. And there are actually 2 cheaper, more compact options that are slated to come in production in around 2026, which I'm really excited about. So let's take a look at the R1S and see how it compares to the Model X that we took a look at moments ago. Now, both the Model X and the R1S started around $108,000 or $113,000 respectively, and on paper, just looking at the specs, the Tesla wins, having about 70 more horsepower and a 53 kilowatt hour larger battery pack, and that gives it an additional 22 kilometers of range in base form than the Rivian, and is a bit more of a look at me showing off type of car. Now, one thing that's different from Tesla when it comes to opening up the doors is there is a lever over here that you can pull, and that will allow you to open the door. And when you go inside the Rivian, you'll notice that, first of all, you've got a lot of really great design features in here. It's beautiful. It's not as minimalistic as Tesla, but it's something that I think grabs a lot of attention. It's very functional and it just looks elegant. The Tesla, on the other hand, has a really beautiful interior, but it's very, very minimalist. And what you'll notice here is that you've got a few more options when it comes to buttons and switches and just different types of materials. And that's something that I really like. When you get into a car and you are greeted by a whole bunch of different materials, it just gives you a sense of luxuriousness and fun and excitement. And I think that's really what Rivian is all about. It's all about adventure and going out and doing fun things and experiencing the outdoors. And so it's got a very rugged but also beautiful interior. A lot of really cool details that you'll find in the seats, from the Rivian name over there. You've got these accent pieces in the headrests, and you've got some really nice perforated leather as you go down the seats. All the buttons for adjustment are over here as well, so it makes it really easy to get in and use. And probably my favorite part is the fact that you still have stalks on the steering wheels. Not only do you have these buttons over here that you can use, again, like Tesla, to adjust the steering wheel and adjust different modes, but you also have a really nice set of stalks on the other side that allow you to control the windshield wipers, the turning signals, so you don't have to worry about missing those when you're driving. And when you want to put the car in reverse, park, neutral, and drive, you've got a stalk coming out the other side that allows you to do that. Now, one thing that's missing from here that is very cool within the Tesla is the doors close automatically. And in the Rivian, we don't have that. So you've got to reach over, grab it, and pull it closed by yourself. But once you're inside, you'll notice there are a lot of really cool things here. A really beautiful screen, just like you have in Teslas. Although I have to say the resolution in the Tesla when it comes to the cameras and things like that are just a little bit better. But this screen is really nice, and you've got all the features that you would normally want from an infotainment screen, and you've got some really nice dedicated buttons around the screen as well. So it really helps if you're trying to change anything within the climate controls or heated seats, any of the drive modes, or what you want to be listening to in the car. And other than that, it's very similar to the Tesla. You've got a very responsive screen that has everything, all the controls sort of built into it. I wanted to show you really quickly just the different drive modes, because I think the animations that Rivian has put in are just so cool when you cycle through them. Just take a look and enjoy them for a moment. There's also a really cool function that's part of the digital display cluster, which is when you put the turn signal on, you've got a video feed of your blind spot. Now, every car has its own party trick, and Tesla has a lot of really cool fun stuff in their infotainment system. They've got games you can play with, and you've got a lot of cool things with the Falcon wings, and they've got a show mode. But there are some really cool things with Rivian as well. Built into the door, you've got this really nice flashlight that comes out. Now, you have to remember, Rivian is all about adventure. It's about going off-road, about enjoying a lifestyle. And the cool thing with that is it gives you a lot of neat features that would allow you to go and have a great time off-road. And this flashlight really reminds me of Rolls-Royces, where they used to have, or they still do have, I should say, these umbrellas that pop out of the door so you don't have to get wet in the rain. Another really cool thing that Rivians have, if we just go a little bit further down here, it's going to be a bit of a stretch for me, but there is a Bluetooth speaker that's built in over here, and you can just pull it out, and when you go camping, now you've got a portable speaker that you can take along with you. I think that's just such cool attention to detail, and it charges when you just put it back into its slot. You've got a nice charging pad over here, and then you can press these little electronic poppers over here, and it opens up the armrest, and you can find a really deep storage space inside. And I will say that both the Tesla and the Rivian have excellent storage spaces. You've got really nice bins over there that you see on that side, and you've got them here as well on the driver's side. You also have a lot of space just underneath the center console because, of course, being an electric car, you don't need anything over here. There's no transmission tunnel or anything like that. You also have some really nice hidden cup holders over here. So if we pop that open, you have the option to put 2 cups there. And if you don't want to have that in your way, of course, you can just fold that back. Just like in the Tesla, Rivian has done a pretty good job of hiding the air vents. You'll see you've got them over here at the bottom in the middle, just under the screen. And you also have a couple just on the side of the driver and on the passenger as well. The one thing that we're missing in here is a glove box. We don't have that in the R1T, but there will be one coming in the R2 model, which is the smaller one coming out in 2026. Now let's move on to the back. As we open the back door, you'll find that the quality of the materials in the back seat area is just as good as in the front. And I have to say that I'm really impressed with what Rivian has been able to do, given that they're basically a startup company that has only been around for a few years. And unlike Tesla, they haven't had almost 2 decades of building car experience. So you can see that, given what they have, they've been able to come up with something really amazing. In the back here, just like with Tesla, you've got a really nice sort of touchpad that helps you control the climate controls in the back seat area. And you also have a really beautiful panoramic sunroof. So it's very nice and airy inside, and you've got a lot of room. And of course, you've got that split folding seat over here when you pull, if you want to fold them down, but you also have the cup holders and the armrest here that you can use if you want to carry some folks in the back with comfort. Now to lower the back seats, we just press a little button and it slides forward really, really easily. And that allows you to get into the back row, I should say the 3rd row. And so in this configuration, you've got 7 seats that are available here. Now the Tesla only comes with a 5, 6, or 7 seat option as well. And the seats do fold flat. So if you wanted to use this in a very practical way and maybe go on a camping trip or load a lot of really great stuff in here, you've got all of that room. Whereas in the Tesla, you can only fold all the seats flat if you take the 7-seat option with the bench. As we move towards the back of the Rivian R1S, we find something that I really, really like, which is a split tailgate. Now, there aren't a lot of cars anymore that do this, but if you put your finger just under the V, there's a little electronic popper and you press that and the top part opens. And if you wanted to lower the lower part of the tailgate, all you do is press this button over here and then you can pull it down and you've got a really nice tailgate that you can sit on and relax and enjoy watching a drive-in movie if you wanted. But I really do like this option because it makes loading things a little bit easier when you're trying to get bigger things into the vehicle, but you can also close it. And if you wanted to do just a quick drop something in here, if you've got a bag of groceries, it's really nice because nothing will fall out when you get to your destination. All right, let's go for a bit of a drive so I can sum everything up for us. Now, both Rivian and Tesla are ground up electric vehicle manufacturers. And what that means is they can be a lot more creative with the way that they do things, the styling, and all of their resources go into the development of these fully electric vehicles and not sort of sharing their attention with other things. And part of the benefit of what comes with that is there's just a better ecosystem for the vehicles. And what I mean by that is you have the ability to have the charging networks, you've got servicing that's done remotely. You have a lot more attention that goes into the overall ownership experience of the electric vehicle as opposed to what we're all used to with the dealerships with a normal internal combustion engine car. Now, both the Model X and the Rivian R1S are really great to drive. They're not very complicated, they're not difficult to use. If you've ever been in an electric car, then you understand the fact that there's something called one-pedal driving, which works really, really well on both. The Rivian and the Tesla, in my opinion, have two very different audiences though. The Rivian is really dedicated to people who want to have sort of a really fun, adventurous lifestyle, and it caters really well to that. The car is beautiful. The car gives you, a lot of practical features for, going on a trip and enjoying the outdoors. And Tesla, in my opinion, is a little more geared towards the sportiness, somebody who, likes the gimmicky things that are a little different and interesting and fun to play around with. They have video games built into the infotainment system. They've got all these cool little sort of gimmicks, if you will, that allow you to just have fun. So it's a bit more of a showing off type vehicle than the Rivian. And I think that both of them serve a really great purpose. They're both very quiet, they're both very comfortable, and they're pretty easy to get along with. The one thing that I love about Rivian over Tesla is just you have more buttons. It's a bit more user-friendly when you're getting into it for the first time. Instead of sort of having to deal with the fact that there's no stocks in Tesla, you have to sort of just deal with the fact that everything's sort of on the steering wheel and in the menu that you have to sort of dig in and find. But overall, they're both really, really great cars. And what impresses me the most and what I think is so special is it teaches us a really valuable lesson. In life, there's always going to be people that tell you you can't succeed or you won't succeed or it's too difficult to do something. And I think Tesla and Rivian have both done something incredible. They've come from nowhere. They've gone into the automotive industry, which is ruthless. It's cutthroat. It's such a difficult space to get into. So many car companies have come and gone because they've tried to compete. They've tried to get into this world and take market share from, the Volkswagens and the Mazdas and the Hondas and Toyotas and Fords and GMs of the world. And they've struggled. They haven't been able to do it. And Tesla and Rivian, I think, are unbelievable success stories because they've been able to pioneer the electric car market and not only create awesome electric cars, but to be super popular. And in the case of Tesla, come from nowhere and outsell probably everything else on the road nowadays. So for me, that is an incredible inspiration. And as a life lesson, I think it just goes to show you that, even if the odds are stacked up against you and you're concerned about not being successful, as long as you have a good product and you're willing to work really hard and put in the time, you'll be able to do it. I think Rivian and Tesla are, a true example of that. They've come out of nowhere. And Rivian, I think, is where Tesla was a few years ago, just starting out and trying to make, a name for themselves. And I think they've done it. They've created a really cool product, something that's well built, that's economical from a driving perspective with electric vehicles, and it's fast and it's fun and it's got some really cool quirky features that are a part of it, and it's different. And that's something to me that is really special. So at the beginning of the video, I told you that anytime people would ask me what electric car should you buy, and specifically when it comes to a 7-seater SUV, Tesla was the only option. There wasn't anything else. And it was a clear-cut thing to say, you know what, just go and buy one. But now that we've got the Rivian, it's not such a simple decision anymore. I think it really comes down to what you want to use the car for. If you're somebody that wants something that's a little bit more familiar to you getting into, and something that's a bit more practical, I'll say, you know, just in terms of form factor and storage and things like that, I think the Rivian is probably the better option there. But if you wanted something more interesting and fun and kind of out there and has a little more showing off characteristic, then I think the Tesla is the way to go. It's well built, it's luxurious, it has some really cool fun party features, and now you've got two different cars that you can choose from, two different personalities, and they both serve a really unique purpose. And for that, I can't tell you that one is better than the other, but they're both amazing, and I'm super grateful that we have both of these companies that have put so much time and energy into developing amazing products that, you know, we're very lucky to have. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope this was an insightful video, and for me it was special because, you know, I really enjoy and appreciate the underdog, the startup company, and not a lot of people know about Rivian, and it's something that I've learned a lot about over the last couple of years and have spent time sort of understanding. And now that I've got the opportunity to come and test drive one and play around with it, it's been great. And I really appreciate Rivian and Tesla giving me the opportunity to drive both of their awesome vehicles. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. And I'll catch you in the next video.